But I'm here to tell you, I love where this guy's at as a big man in college basketball, headed into year 3, thinking about that improvement he'll make.
Welcome back to On Texas Basketball. I'm Jeff Howe, joined by Jerry Hamilton. Breaking news, and Jerry, it's good breaking news. Modest Vokietaitis is coming back to Texas for the 26-27 season.
Yeah, huge news here for Texas. I mean, it really is huge news, and not just because of the way Matas looked down the stretch for Texas. 16 points, 8.8 rebounds in the NCAA tournament. He averaged about those numbers in the last 13 games of the season. He really took that next step during SEC play. This is huge news, though, more than that. It's more than what he did in year 2 in college basketball. It's what he likely will become in year 3. And I think that's really where we're at. I mean, look, NBADraft.net just put out they've updated some of their first-round mock drafts for 27. They had him in the back end of the first round. They had him in the pick 28. He's starting to become that second-round, fringe first-round prospect in the NBA scouts' eyes after what he did the last part of SEC season and then into the tournament. And why is this so impactful, Jeff? Because look what he did from first year to second year. First year at FAU, 10.2 points, 5.4 rebounds. He makes a huge jump to go to the SEC in year 2. Still a young, developing big man. 15.6 points, 7.1 rebounds. So a lot of times these guys jump up in weight class and their production maybe levels out. He made a huge jump when you realistically look at it. Went from 63.9 at the free throw line his freshman year to 66.9, up 3%. If he does that again next year, he's up to 70% for a power big. Pretty good. And if he develops his game like people think he will, like I think he will, Jeff, in the offseason, you're looking at a guy who can average 18, 19 points, 8, 9, 10 rebounds in the SEC. There are a lot of colleges that tried to get him, or people that tried to get him into the portal. He was a coveted player by the Blue Bloods, by the Tier 1 teams within the SEC. The people that had to play against him this year tried to get him to be with them next year so they don't have to play against them in 2026-27. Jeff, this is really big for Texas because in a day and age where it's really difficult, can be really difficult to keep your top players, especially when those Blue Bloods and those big-name schools are coming with big offers. It's huge that Matas is returning to Texas for year 2 under Sean Miller.
Yeah, and that's my big takeaway from this, Jerry. And we can get into it. Like, we saw Modest throughout the season with the footwork and his ability to finish and playing stronger, adjusting to the physical style in the SEC. Like, we saw that. But, in this day and age with the portal and NIL and how things can change on a whim, for Sean Miller and Chris Ogden and everybody in the building to know, hey, you've got your cornerstone franchise piece locked up before the first big weekend of portal activity. Man, that is massive for any program, let alone a program that's fighting to get back to the second weekend of the tournament.
No doubt. And it'll get a lot of positive run. This will get a lot of positive run nationally because it's like, okay, Texas did what they had to keep their best returning player, considering Dalen Swain put his name into the NBA draft. I mean, that's a big deal for the University of Texas to pull that off with Matas. And you know what they also is? Look, he could have probably gone on the open market and got more. But you know what it tells you? He likes Sean Miller. He likes being at Texas. He likes the way his development's going. And the people around him like where his development is going at Texas. So it's a really good day for the Texas Longhorns. I'll say this about Matas, too. There's always areas players can improve. Dalen Swain and the guys that go in the draft. There's always areas players can improve. Matas, I think, will make a couple of big steps again next year. He needs to add one more pump fake to his repertoire, right? Mm-hmm. Adds the run more pump fake. He needs to add that secondary move off his pivot foot, right? Sometimes you can play at the lower base, hold your ground more. He's a very strong player. It's still learning how to play. He can improve as a free throw shooter, right? He can improve his pick and roll defense, although he's still going to be more drop defensive guy in the pick and roll. He can improve his recognition on the defensive end and play without fouling as much. Those are things that he'll continue to improve on as a player. But I'm here to tell you, I love where this guy's at as a big man in college basketball, headed into year 3, thinking about that improvement he'll make. And I'll say this. I think if just say Matas had left Texas and Texas was forced to go out on the open market for a big man, how do people think that would have gone? I mean, Flory Badinga, right? You aren't getting Flory Badinga.
Yeah.
Masaba Diop, the kid out of Arizona State, who I think is a future first rounder, would have been tough. So this is a player Texas absolutely had to hold on to, and they did their job.
Jerry, the other thing that stood out about Modest, and look, I know everybody that watched the NCAA tournament, they watched the BYU game, they're like, oh, this guy can't shoot free throws. No, he's actually a really good free throw shooter. And Jerry, you talk about a guy that draws a lot of contact. You just look at SEC play. In SEC play, he's averaging almost 7.5 free throws a game and shooting a hair over 71%.
Yep.
I mean, that's elite stuff for a big man, Jerry.
It is. I mean, look, I think there's kind of unrealistic expectations that come with college basketball players. And a big man's supposed to shoot 75%. A team's supposed to shoot 80. Nobody shot 80 in college basketball. It's a team this year. No. Oh, you got to shoot 40% from three. Nobody did that was a competitive team in the NCAA this year for anything. Iowa State was your best three-point shooting team that was a ranked team at 38-9. It's hard to get to those numbers. So Mata's shooting 71% in SEC play, and I'm glad you brought it up because the BYU game, for the people that don't watch every game, if that's the first time you saw him, you think, again, Jeff, he struggles from the free throw line. You know what he did, though, for me in the Purdue game? A game after having the worst free throw shooting game of his season, he came back and knocked down 2 in money time. That's a player that's learning and developing. That's what you want to see. And, Jeff, to your point, if he replicates and adds to it, if he ends up being like a 73% free throw shooter in SEC play next year and adds something else to his offensive game, he's probably going to average 20 points a game. And there aren't many guys that are going to average 20 and 9, 20 and 10 in college basketball and draw doubles the way he does. Teams have to game plan. What did Chris Beard do? They ran monster doubles at him. That means 2 bigs. They felt like they had to run 2 bigs at him at times to slow him down. I mean, that is a commitment to a game plan and to a coach defensively. Matas has the ability to draw those type of double teams. Now let's see how Sean Miller puts this roster together of offensive players around him. Because if they get the right offensive pieces around him, that's going to make teams, the opponent's job, even tougher of when to double and who to double with. I think that's what's going to be so fascinating to see how Sean Miller builds this roster around Matas.
Yeah, Jerry, you look at the handful of really good defensive coaches in the SEC. Chris Beard's one, Porter Moser's one. Porter Moser, Oklahoma did that. They doubled him on the catch and decided, hey, Modest and Dalen Swain are not going to beat us. So that tells you he's already kind of one of the focal points of your offense, could be even bigger in that regard in his second year. And Jerry, when we look at the Texas filling out the front court, obviously you're going to need a 4-man even before Nick Cody and Cam Heidi went into the portal. We talked about, hey, the 4 position, they've got to upgrade there. They want to upgrade there. They're looking for it. But when you look at the guys behind Modest, Jerry, you've got John Clark, who's going to play some kind of backup role. Same with Luis Obiora. What's your outlook right now for that front court? Even though there's a long way to go, a lot of runway left before it's done.
Yeah, I mean, I think getting a starting experience 4-man in college basketball is big for Texas in this portal. I think there's 2 positions. We'll get to the backcourt in a second. There's 2 real positions. So I think getting that starting 4-man who can make Matas's job easier, can make you tougher to defend as a team, that guy needs to be a pretty good passer too, I think, with what Sean Miller does offensively. Keep the ball moving, just create space, right? But then also help Matas on the defensive end. You don't have to be 6'11" and play elbow above the rim all the time, but what you have to be able to do is help him defensively around the rim, rebounding the basketball. And Texas did a heck of a job this year getting to a Sweet 16. There were struggles, there's bumps in the road in year one like for anybody else, but they did a great job working around not having that this season is what they did. I mean, Dalen Swain's versatility certainly helped in that regard. So they had to play small more than they wanted to, but Sean Miller adjusted and kind of pretty much maximized this team at the end of the year, in my opinion. But having that big experience, and then when I say big, I mean strong experience, but skill is very important in this 4-man, is going to be really big for part of that equation of maximizing Matas in this team next year. Then the other thing is they're going to have to go. Obior is still a developing player. John Clark, I think, can play physical and rebound in the SEC in a role, but you still have to get a third big that has college experience on this roster, but I think that's kind of the number 3 or number 4 position in the portal for them right now.
Yeah, you just don't want to be caught in a situation like you were late in the year when Lucina Traore was out of the picture. And if Modest got in foul trouble, you really had no backup big.
Yes.
You can't get caught in that situation again. Jerry, real quick, there are 3 portal exits so far. 2 of them, not a surprise with Nick Cody and Simeon Wilcher. We expected that. Cam Heide was the surprise, though, Jerry. We weren't expecting that. Obviously, not shocked by anything in the portal, but it was a surprise to see Cam Heide put his name in the portal.
Yeah, it was. And I think, look, this is where NIL and the portal gets tricky, because a lot of this stuff comes down to what your agent asked for and how does a school see your role on that team. And I think, look, under the correct circumstances, I think Texas would have liked to have Cam Heide back as a role player off the bench. I mean, look, he's made big shots. He understands how to play a role. He's not a guy that needs volume shots. He can play within a system. He did it at Purdue. He did it at Texas this year. Those guys have value, especially in an NIL area where you have to build out a roster. But if that guy comes and asks for too much, then these teams have to make a decision. And I think the decision was, look, they can't do what was going to be asked there. So then they had to go their separate ways. And we wish Cam nothing but the best. I think he made a huge shot for Texas. He played a role. He was a willing player as a role player. He has been his entire college career. He'll find another place. And he had NCAA tournament experience. And he played a national title game and Sweet 16 games, multiple Final Four game. I mean, so he had some value to this team, but again, it's trying to mix and match the NIL, what you want out of as a player and as an agent, and what that team can do or is willing to do.
All right, Jerry, thank you for the knowledge and expertise as always. If you want the latest on what's going on with the transfer portal, we'll have it here for you here on the channel, but make sure you're over at ontexasfootball.com. If you're not a member, take advantage of our spring sale right now. Sign up using the promo code OTFOG, and that'll get you 1 year of access at ontexasfootball.com for just $39.95. Make sure that you like this video and that you're subscribed to the On Texas Football YouTube channel, and you've got those notifications on. That way, anytime we go live or drop a video, you're not missing any of our Longhorn coverage or breaking news. For Jerry, for Matthew, for the entire On Texas Football staff, I'm Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and until next time, welcome.
Hey guys, Blake Monroe here from Coffee and Football. YouTube thinks that you're going to like this video right here, and if the algorithm knows ball, it's a good one. So go check it out, and then don't forget, hit that like and subscribe button.